The identity you want lags behind the reality that you actually have. Let's get started here. So I was watching a video that you posted recently where you were talking about moving away from the group of friends that you traditionally grew up with. Take me back to that point in your life. And when did you start to realize that something needed to change?
I think it's happened in quite a few instances in my life. I'd say the very first time was when I was leaving like college. 17, 18, everyone's getting into the era of like, we're all starting to drive, we're all starting to go clubbing, we're all starting to do these things. And clubbing was like a big thing that I wasn't really that interested in. I think when I got to the age of 23, 24, I could probably say that I stepped into a club like 3 times. It was just not my vibe. It was never really something that interested me. But I know at that point in most guys' life or anyone of that age, that's the done thing. Everyone's excited. Everyone wants to go out as much as they can. They want to get pissed and do all these kind of things. And it never really fueled me. Now, whether that was, I think it's twofold. One side of it is I just don't enjoy it. I don't find I connect with people. I don't feel like I have that much fun, which is weird because when I'm in Tenerife, I don't mind it too much. But in the UK, I've never really enjoyed it. And this is the period where I was struggling a lot with anxiety. And maybe that just fueled into it. But that period of my life, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not really interested in the things that everyone else is interested in. I really don't want to do this. As much as I force myself into situations, like I did really try and just kind of throw myself into it. I never came away from that thinking, maybe this is what I wanted to do. And I berated myself for a long time because it was the constant question of what is wrong with you? It was a negative. It wasn't a case of like, oh, this is okay, you're allowed to like different things. It was very much like, no, you are young. You are young, dumb, and full of whatever they say. And you should be doing these things. You should go live your life. And like, it's the classic old person line. They're like, go and live your life, go and have fun, go and do all these things. And the more that I thought about that, the more it was just kind of reiterating to me, okay, there's something wrong. Like, why don't I like to do this? So I would say that's probably the first part of my life where I started to, realize that I was kind of moving away from that initial group.
Yeah, amazing. Like, it's funny you should say that. I think it's something that really like pulled me to kind of that particular thing is like, I felt very similar in a way to what you're saying, but I would say I started to have those sort of realizations kind of a bit later on. Like I was like, oh, just go with it, go with it, go with it. Like, or just happy to be there. And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm not really enjoying this. Like, this isn't really like, I don't get it. It's not getting, go and have this big blowout, have loads of drink, have loads of whatever. And you get to the point and you're like, yeah, okay, that time is fun, but all you're doing is having pointless conversations, making bad decisions, like spending loads of money on stuff that you then don't even remember. And I mean, I'm not sitting here saying anti-drink, anti-booze. Like, you do what you want. Like, you can make that decision for yourself. I'm not your mother. I'm not making it for you. But like, I think for me, and then I start to, you get into the hangover and the feeling shit afterwards. Like for me, I was almost sort of came to that realization after the fact. And I think it's really interesting and, probably testament to you as a person of like, you had that, it came to that point, you start turning 18, cars, girls, booze, clubs, whatever. And you're just a bit like, no, it's not for me. But where do you think that came from?
I don't know if it was so much that I didn't like the act. I think I just had this, like anxiety. It was literally crippling anxiety that would just leave me from not going out of the house. There was I was very much in my own head. So from the period of 17, for whatever reason, there was a number of things that have kind of happened. My nan passed away. My mum moved back to Tenerife. So I was kind of like on my own as such. And looking back in retrospect, I just think I had a lot of feelings that I couldn't put a label onto, I couldn't put an answer to, and I internalized it quite a lot. And then add to the fire that I smoke weed every day. So like constantly in your head, constantly detaching myself and kind of ostracizing myself away from people, connection, and just constantly like, okay, just almost a running commentary of everything that I was doing, everything that I was thinking, everything that I was feeling, and always going the worst case scenario from that. Of like, okay, no, I shouldn't be doing this thing. It doesn't make me feel good. Whenever I'm in these situations, I don't feel like I'm in place. Or I'm looking at this guy thinking, he's quite cool. Everyone respects him. What's he doing that I'm not? And then it's just this constant running commentary of just like, what do I do? There's no words to it. And it's just kind of like, okay, let me take myself out of the situation. Let me just go away and just like, I don't like this thing. I don't necessarily feel safe. So I'm just going to take a step back and not do it.
Mate, there's so much to unpack in that. And I really feel there's a lot of stuff in there. And like something you said in particularly really stood out was around oh, he seems to be doing this, that, or the other. He's got the relationship. And it's, to be fair, like I now you're saying about, I was thinking when you said that, and I'm like, to be honest, like that was me up until, a few years ago, around like, oh, this guy's got it all, he's got this, he's got that, he is a certain way. Like, what am I doing wrong?
Mm.
Yeah, I certainly really, really resonate with that. And it's, probably taken me a while to sort of like question that programming and be a bit more like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to do me."
Yeah. I kind of implanted myself into that group, which I don't feel like I really belonged in the first place. So we'll call this the cool kid group as such. I'd kind of integrated myself in there, but we weren't really like the oldest of friends. Like I had a friendship group that I kind of just sort of left to go and be with these guys. But then without realizing that when I was with these guys, it was almost like I was constantly fighting for validation. It's just kind of like, yes, I do belong here. I am one of you. I should be part of this group. I do belong here. Whereas my mind was like, no, you're not. Like, you're really not. It was an effort to kind of be here. Like I said there, I was constantly like reflecting inwards of like, what am I doing, and making sure, am I acting the right way? Am I saying the right things? Am I dressing in the right way? Like all of these, like it was like a job to try and stay where I was. But it was like this need and desperation of just like, oh, I want to be one of the cool kids.
And kind of ironically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were having these feelings, almost like you wanted to be there for what it, like the kind of the optics of how it looked, but you're constantly battling this internal thought of, I shouldn't be here, this isn't right. But ironically, that's right.
Mm.
And I think that's really, like, that's certainly at that sort of age where, what's this going to be like 17, 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing to process. Like, obviously us guys, our brains don't properly develop ever really.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to hold those really contrasting things around, like the thing that I didn't want to be true is actually probably true, and it's okay and it's actually right, but like, how do I deal with it? But I actually want it to look like this, but it's not. Trying to kind of hold all of that together, and
Mm-hmm.
I it's such a hard thing to do anyway. So yeah, really interesting. You should say that, mate. So you obviously said that you've kind of got into this cool kid group. And just so obviously I would totally clear on a story. Are you finding that group of people, the ones that were going out in the clubs, doing whatever?
Yeah, I feel like they were, but I feel like that was just a universal thing. Whether or not everyone at some degree wanted to do it, really feel like I was a small minority at that point. Calling them a cool kid group makes me sound so cringe hearing that being said back to me. But hopefully people can kind of understand what I mean. But yeah, I just think that is kind of like I just felt like everyone was doing it at the time. It didn't feel like there was any part of like, oh no one else wants to do that. It was literally, I felt at the time like it was literally just me.
Yeah. So kind of you get to the point where there's this like cognitive dissonance. You've got this like your mind, your actions, or the situations that you're in, like are just so far aligned from like what you're feeling internally. Now, how do you feel that sort of like, what was a real turning point? Was there anything significant that you can recall and be like, yeah, that's where things started to really turn. I started to make a change there.
It probably didn't come at what point did I feel like I was okay with the not being part of the group.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So that probably came like, I don't know, probably a good 6 years later. A long
Okay.
time. I spent a long time by myself. And even now, like I don't have a friendship group. Like I don't have a group of boys that will go meet at the pub and like there's 5 or 6 of us and we've known each other since school and all these things. I literally have like 3 close friends, 3 separate close friends that I know from different places. And again, the conversation in my mind was there's something wrong with that. Like you should have this friendship group. You should be able to like call up 4 people and they all come up, but there's never been a thing for me. And I would say I was battling for that for so long where my resolve was not not to go and sort it out. It was kind of like, I'll just be on my own. And I just spent so much time on my own, and I would have like partners and girlfriends throughout the years who they would kind of be my friendship group. That one person, that would be who I spend my time with. So it would kind of like, as soon as I had someone, I didn't really have to think about this thing of not belonging. And I don't know if there was a particular day, but I think just doing my own thing and following the path that I wanted to, and it ended me up to the points of where I was trying to go, mainly in the world of my job and like personal training. There was a lot of things that I was doing within my own business that I kind of sought validation from that. And I was like, okay, I'm actually doing good things for myself. I'm doing good things other people, like for other people. And maybe it was just an age thing, like you said there, like especially guys, it takes us like 25 for our frontal lobes to kind of form. And then I think when you just get to a day when you stop fighting and you're just kind of like, this is who I am. I'm okay with that and I accept it. But yeah, it wasn't something that happened in a couple of years, I'm afraid. It was a lot of lone wolf behavior, let's say. I'd probably say it was around the time that I gave up smoking weed. I could actually just think and not avoid. Because I always used to say that smoking weed made doing nothing, doing something. Because I didn't like have to be with anyone. I didn't have to really like care about if I was watching TV, if I was playing Xbox. As soon as I smoked that joint, like I'm done. I'm done for the day. I can disconnect. Whatever I'm worried about, whatever it is I want to achieve, it doesn't matter because I can just forget about it till tomorrow. And I think as soon as I got rid of that and I started spending more time with, okay, who am I? Like, what is it that I like? Am I okay with this part of my life? Do I want to give up what I'm doing right now for something that I feel like I should be doing? Well, actually, no, I don't really want to. And I think the more I gave myself that opportunity to kind of ask those questions and create my own ways of thinking and my own personality, that's when all the like the worry and this holding on to a life that I should be living kind of just dissipated.
Mate, amazing. I think there's so much in that, like that. Again, you keep saying things like, "Oh my god, there's so many avenues." I've got notes, but like, fuck notes. If you're okay with it, you're okay to talk about your relationship with smoking weed.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Amazing. So, like, I think it's easy to fall into those sort of habits, whether it's smoking weed, drug of choice, alcohol, reckless, you know, sleeping with people recklessly, spending money recklessly, using food as that vice, whatever that may be. And I'm sure we've all kind of like delved into those different things at different points in life. And I know what you're saying here about the having the joint, and that was just like almost like a hard reset between, like problem, bang, nothing. I don't have to be anything for anyone at this point. And I think kind of it's valuable to look at like that end point, like when you started to kind of have those realizations around like, okay, well maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't kind of giving me what it needs. Again, was there anything that particularly triggered that? Like, let's talk about the kind of the downfall of smoking weed. That's
Mm.
that's not. Do you get the point?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I understand.
It's almost like that point where it's like you just stop
Yeah.
on that road.
I kind of feel like it just sort of happened as happen chance. For context, from the periods of 17, so I'm originally from Tenerife. Well, I'm half from Tenerife, half from England. My dad has always lived in Tenerife. Mum's lived in the UK. She's been back and forth. From me leaving school or college to me up until, let's say, 25. So a good 8 years. I had this constant like, oh, I'm going to be here for a little bit. I'm going to be there for a little bit. I'm going to be here for a little bit. I'm going to be there for a little bit. And I couldn't stay in one place. And it was just that easy option of, oh, I'm going to go back to my dad's. I'll go to Tenerife. Everything would be fine there. And then when I get itchy feet in Tenerife, I'd go back to the UK. And I just think I came back from the Tenerife ones. I don't know when it was. I didn't have any numbers. I didn't have any weed dealers. And I was just like, oh, do you know what? Like, I just can't be bothered. And I think it was more my environment. I was going into like relationships because I remember one of my first relationships, there was a big problem with the fact that I smoked weed. But I would almost, looking back on it, maybe even gaslight her and be like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm fine. Like, why are you trying to control me? This is the thing that I want to do. It's not causing any problems. Like, leave me alone type thing. And that way of thinking was reinforced by the fact that I was personal training at the time. I was like making money. So there was nothing that you could have told me back then of like, that what you want about it's getting in the way. What you want about is making me XYZ. I'm making money. Like I'm I'm out here, I'm waking up, I'm going to work, and I'm coming back, I'm smoking a joint. I'm not hurting anyone, leave me alone type thing. And I think I just naturally fell out of it for those reasons that I just said, of just like, it wasn't there, it wasn't available. And I think it got to a point where I was just like, oh, do you know what? It's actually more effort to get a number of someone, to go and meet some dodgy dealer down an alleyway, try and form a relationship, get past that weird beginning stage of like, where you got my number from, and then doing all this kind of stuff, to then experiencing life without it. There was a bit of a like a weird sticking point. Again, it was made easier because I was with someone at the time who they didn't smoke weed, and I was just like, okay. But if had I been on my own, and I did try and do it for a couple of times, I would have these withdrawals of like, oh, I can't sleep, I can't do these things. Life's boring. Like I'm too much in my head. And I think just in that period of like not having the availability and spending some time off it, I kind of realized, yeah, maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe I am like really slow in my thoughts. Maybe I can, like, I've got this level of clarity that I've not even experienced before. I'm not eating as much. I'm training a bit better. I have a little bit more motivation. Oh, do you know what? I actually can live without it. Because I would have honestly had said at points in my life, I couldn't have lived without it, because it was the thing that kind of not kept me going, but it was just almost like I needed that thing to do. Just, yeah, like it's like that vice. Luckily for me, that's an obvious thing. Like telling people you smoke weed is frowned upon. Sitting in your garden, stinking of weed is frowned upon. You're going to get these weird looks, and like you smell it. You're constantly having to hide all the stuff to like roll your joints, and there is a little bit of shame. Whereas people have a vice like that, like you said, which is sometimes a little bit unobvious. It's the constant drinking. I mean, drinking maybe is is an obvious one, but maybe it's the incessant need to scroll all the time, or like you said, spending money to a stupid degree. We all have, I think, something, or some of us at least, that is like kind of holding us back. And until you kind of let go of it for a short period of time, you don't know what version of you lives on the other side of that.
Yeah, definitely. And like, it's almost, if you strip it back, like fundamentally, that's very basic habit stuff of like, make it really inconvenient. Like it's almost like I can't be bothered to
Mm,
do it. Like I know if I constantly get peppered from notifications and stuff from Deliveroo or Uber Eats or whatever, it's a hell of a lot higher on my agenda than it is if it's not. So I
mm,
just delete it. I don't have it. Like if that's what I decide I want to do, I'll go out of my way and do it. But like not having that reminder, not having it there, like making it really inconvenient, and
mm.
it not just be, okay, well, I'm going to go into my bedside table and grab, you know, your, let's say your satchel, but like, your stuff. You need to do. It's been a long day, but it's really basic kind of like habit stuff of like, yeah, it made it really inconvenient. You put a bit of space between it. But I think it's kind of the bit of like habit change and doing these sort of things. It's kind of like when you get a month or a couple of months down the line and you're just a bit like, not almost like looking for it, but you have those moments where you're like, you start to realize things that are different.
Mm,
Now, a couple of examples for me is like where I do CrossFit is exactly halfway between home and work. So like, if I don't, like, I knew I was doing this today, so I was like, I'm not gonna like feel bad about it. But it's like so convenient because it's not like I've got to go off somewhere random that's in the wrong direction to go and do it. It's literally on the way home, and it's really simple. And you've got the accountability of booking in and blah 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 blah. But it's, and the other thing as well is, have you heard of the Higher Up Wellness 100 Days Public Speaking Challenge?
yeah, yeah. I actually just started it today. Funny enough.
Okay, so I'm on today's day 53 for me.
Nice.
So, but like at the start, I used to really overthink it, and it was such a big deal, and like, oh my god, I haven't done my video, it's so stressy. Like, but doing it for 52 days, 53 days, whatever you want to say, it just becomes less of a big deal, and that I can, that I would sit there and ruminate and stress of, oh, what am I supposed to talk about? Because I've got to talk about it for a minute. I'm broken and blah 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 blah. And you just kind of find the ways of it working, of it happening.
Mm,
And I really it's one of those things where I didn't realize that till kind of I had that like halfway point reflection. I'm like, oh shit, like actually doing this consistently for however many weeks, like not missing a day, like doing something every day, like I think that's a different kettle of fish of like commitment, and it genuinely is 1 to 2 minutes. It's not a big deal, like time wise. But I can pick the idea a lot quicker. I fumble the start a lot less. Like instead of it being like I'm going to talk about, or today I'm going to talk, like I can start better. I can flow better. There's less kind of awkward silences. Again, that's just come from repeat, 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 repeat. And I think that's kind of a part of it where people don't think about it, they don't talk about it at that level of, what's the word I'm trying to look for here? Like what happens after when it starts to change. And it sounds like what that happened with you.
Mm,
You stopped it, basic habit check, whatever you want to call it. You then start to have these realizations kind of a bit down the line. And yeah, okay, for something along those lines, you're going to have those more physical responses of, oh, I feel, I'm struggling to sleep, X, Y, Z. But I'm having a lot more clarity. And I think those moments are what it's all about. Like that's the magic for me personally, anyway, when you start doing
mm,
things, is the magic is in that starting to realize. And sometimes things just slap you in the face. You're like,
mm.
okay, that's really cool. So amazing, mate. And
Just before you move on from that,
oh,
it's making it unattractive as well, making the habit of whatever the thing that you're kind of, well, I'll move on to that, but whatever thing that comes into mind, for me, it's smoking weed. For some people, it's gaming till fucking stupid hours in the morning, whatever it is. Not to say that these things are bad, but when they're impeding certain parts of your life and certain parts of your relationships, making it really unattractive. So, like, almost this feeling of shame. Because at the time, like I said, I coupled it up with the person that I was with didn't like smoking weed. And whenever I used to say, oh, I'm going to go meet this friend, I would lie and be like, yeah, I'm going to go see him. And people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, just chilling, going for some food. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm lying about something. Like, if I'm having to lie because I don't want to tell you that I'm sitting at his house, smoking weed, watching fucking Pokemon, like, of course, that conversation in my head is like, what am I doing? Like, you need to create that resistance of not only physical resistance of me not being able to go and get it, but the resistance of how is this going to sound if I'm having to justify what it is that I'm doing? There is something wrong here. I shouldn't have to be justifying. I shouldn't be shameful about my justification.
yeah, definitely. I think the key word there is like resistance,
Mm,
and whatever you want to call it. Like like to me, that really clicks in my head of like, like you would build that resistance up through, any means possible. Like that's actually the thing that's going to really help to do that. Amazing. Kind of moving the on a little bit here. Something that's really appealed about me and something I've always wanted to talk to you about is the kind of transitions that you've done through your career, for want of a better phrase. Now, like you've moved away from that traditional fitness coaching, whether it's in person, whether it's online, into the world of kind of this performance, personal development mindset coaching world. Now, take me back. What made you want to start moving away from that traditional fitness coaching?
I guess it was just I do love fitness. Like, fitness is still my thing. I just have loved psychology more for the longest time for the reasons that we've just spoken about there, the smoking weed, the anxiety, the countless nights that I spent by myself. A lot of those times I spent just observing who I was and how I was thinking. And around that time, I started picking up the personal development books, and I was very much the guy that looks cool with all the books on his bookshelf, and I would read them till the cows came home, but I never really did anything with it. I did stuff with it in terms of I would give advice to people, and I ended up being in a way, like whenever we talk about this kind of like mindset stuff and lifestyle and whatnot, this would be the conversations that I was having with people one to one. And I felt like I was good at it, and I could always flip perspectives and kind of get people to get somewhat interested in it. And that kind of permeated through into my coaching. It wasn't so much the physical transformation, it was the conversations that we were having with people. I believe that I'm very good at one-to-one interaction and getting people to kind of open up. People would speak to me in ways that probably was a little bit too deep sometimes for personal training sessions, because like I'm here to help you lift weights, but we were going into so much. And I kind of realized that people are so comfortable doing this, and not only am I interested in it, but they're comfortable with me like going with it. I would love to make this a a business one day, and I've been wanting to do it for such a long time. But again, there were so many limiting beliefs that I had. One of them was age. Like, you're 23, shut the fuck up. What do you know? That's what my thought was. Everyone's going to see me as this like young buck that's got no clue what he's talking about, without knowing like what's kind of got me to this point. Anyway, another one was like, what is it that I talk about? I've not really done the reps, and I was just like, what will people say? Like, you kind of be this mindset coach. Like, what's that kind of thing? That's just a load of shit. And then I just got to the point where I kind of burnt my business down to the ground again, which is just funny. And
honestly, the amount of correlations between your and my story, like,
yeah,
we talk about this because there's a lot.
yeah.
That's the
And I
story.
just,
Sorry, but I had to say
that's
that.
okay. That's okay. Yeah. I just got to that point and I was just like, I don't know if I want to keep writing programs. Like, I love the coaching aspect, and I feel like I love the coaching, but I loved talking to people about their lives and like seeing the mental transformation more than I did the physical. Like, the physical was good, but I loved the implications that came because of that. I wouldn't ever say that I was, oh my God, I love periodization. I love seeing people do these exercises and lifting weights. Like, yeah, it's cool, but I just love the way that people spoke about themselves, the self-talk that they had, the way that they would show up in their relationships, the things that people would tell me outside of fitness. And obviously, yes, fitness was the catalyst, but I was like, okay, how can I bottle this up? And how can I like share the message? And then the way that that's kind of evolved over the years is, again, linking back to this younger version of me, which for a 6-year period was kind of lost, didn't really have the male accountability, didn't really have the outlet to speak about things. Yes, okay, I was listening to podcasts and stuff, but I didn't ever find anything that I kind of resonated with on my level and brought the topic of men's mental health into the conversations. So one day I was just thought, fuck it. Like, what, that is literally it. Like, I might as well just give it a go. What is the worst that could happen? I still coach, for context. So I was in a position where I'd overcome some limiting beliefs about being self-employed or going back to employment and not seeing myself as a failure. And then I was like, cool, I've brought myself back to a position. So when I burnt my business to the ground, I was 26, living on my mum's sofa. Like, all my belongings were in a suitcase, and I was like, right, okay, I need to rebuild things up. So I got myself back to a point, and then I was like, right, I've done this. I've kind of got rid of all the lesser parts of me, I would say, that probably got me to the position where I kept going through these cycles of building things up and burning things down. And then I was like, right, let's just go. Let's just see what happens. Just have fun. Just try things. And I think there's a lot to be said for trying and just like giving things a go. And if they don't work out, they don't work out. That's absolutely fine. But at least you can say you did it.
Yeah, mate. And do you know what's ironic here as well? Like, I've literally got the words, swing the bat, give it a go.
Mm-hmm. Literally, just try.
That's just a point of like, oh, like, this might be somewhat useful because it's in italics. That's how I write my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this might be somewhat interesting to talk about. But like, mate, you put that on a plate. And I think that's like, I think what you're saying there is really, really interesting as well. Like, there's two sides of it, of like limiting belief, but it's also like, you almost kind of need to go through the transformation as such, or go through the process to be like, okay, well, this is what I would do, blah, 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 and you have that lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that the amount of fitness people that you see, obviously coming from like myself, coming from that fitness world, you get some banging before and afters.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect fitness coach, PT, get in your local gym kind of thing, and whack a couple of them up. And before long, you're training your nan's dogs, owners, kind of thing. And that's cool. But I think with the mindset, with that kind of like deeper level of transformation, that's always what's appealed to me. Like, that was one of the things that I kept when I came to the realization, okay, well, I'm gonna stop fitness coaching, I'm gonna stop being on that. I mean, I think for me, I've come to realize this is not that it was necessarily a fitness thing. There's probably something else, but fundamentally, I was like, you need. It isn't just going to be doing some squats and some deadlifts, and that's going to solve all your problems, because it won't. Like I said, it is that conversation. It's how you hold yourself. It's proving that you can do it. You can stick to something, whatever. Those are the things that actually underpin that before and after, that person you walk in the room, you're like, who's that? Like that, like it doesn't have to be physically. It can just
Mm.
be, to really use a Gen Z phrase, the aura that they give, like who they are when they,
Yeah.
some people are like, who is this? And yes, whatever that is, big yes, like go you. I think it's really interesting that you say that, and like, it's just part of me that I'm actually like, okay, I'm not the only one that did that then.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's what you're really interested about, those sort of like limited beliefs of like, yeah, you need to go through it, but you also need to then kind of like challenge those limiting beliefs, because of course you can do it.
Mm.
But like almost you kind of need to have something to share for it, and sitting there and being like, oh, well, okay, I'm just going to change my bio of my Instagram or whatever to mindset coach, and I just expect the clients to come wandering up. You need to start living it, you showing up in body, and who is that? Who is that person? Yeah, mate, that's amazing. And like, talk to me about that. Like, I think what's really interesting here is like the management phase of like you said, you took that time to, you were living on your mum's sofa,
Hmm.
and you then kind of almost solved that problem. So to kind of get you out on the other side, where you're like, perfect. Well, I can start like afresh and living this life. So talk to me a little bit about that part of life.
Yeah. So that was like 2 years ago now. So yeah, I'd come back from Bali. I'd done the whole online coach, living in Bali, kind of going to Sydney and all this kind of thing. I'd lived my dream, and it did feel good. I don't know if it felt as good as what I thought it was going to. I was kind of underwhelmed at the fact that I still was the same person. After the 2 weeks of my fun and meeting people had gone, and all these kind of things, the problems that I'd always experienced still were there. And a big one for me was like money management and all these kind of things, negative self-talk and all that kind of stuff. So then when I came back, I was kind of like, right, something needs to fucking give here. Like, you need to sort yourself out. You can't just keep going on these massive like rampages of work, get yourself to a certain point and then crash it all back down again, and then be like, oh, you know what, it's fine. I'm gonna do it again. And to be fair, I was thinking about this yesterday, of like what the kind of turning point was, and I think it's coming up in a couple of days. And the turning point for me was I'd come back and I almost kind of like given up. So I was doing the whole fitness thing, but I was so like, I have to work online. I need to be this online coach. I can't possibly go into employment, because if you're employed, then you're just a fucking schmuck. All these kind of like thoughts that are just kind of purported online. And I was applying for labouring jobs again. Like, so to go back to what you were saying there about changing lanes, I've not just been a personal trainer. I've been a roofer. I've built swimming pools. I've been a barman. I did a telesales job for a month, and then I got into personal training. But I was like, right, I'll just go back to labouring. And I was just like, yeah. And I was just sort of, you know what, just give up. Literally, it was just a silent waving the white flag. No one's going to know. I'm going to stop posting. I'm going to do all these things. And then I drove to the building site, sat there 7 o'clock in the morning. I went out and bought boots. I went out and bought hard hacks. I didn't have any of the stuff. And I get a text from the guy literally 10 minutes before my shift going, oh, sorry, mate. Something's gone wrong. Something's got a bit of a mix up here. We don't need you anymore. And I was like, ah. But that was just kind of like a big slap in the face of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I literally wrote, I've got an online journal, and I just, from that day, just started writing to myself. And I was like, what are you doing? All of this, you're going back to something that you don't want to do just so you can hide, just because of your pride. And I did like fitness at the time and I wanted to stay in it, but I didn't want to go down the employment route. Anyway, so I'd looked for jobs after that. I was like, right, I'm going to get myself back into it. I had about 4 or 5 different interviews and got the job that I wanted. And then from there, just kind of like started becoming a bit of an adult and spending a lot of time with myself, but alongside that, reflecting on that self that I'd been spending time with. There's a great thing from book, which is self 1 and self 2. So self 2 is that little voice in your head that you're constantly having conversations with, the shadow, whatever it is you want to call it. And I was kind of like trying to understand that and seeing what it was that was kind of holding me back. And yeah, it was just simple things like challenging myself through. I mean, I'd done some running, but it was just like, right, okay, I'm going to get into great shape. I'm going to get a job and I'm going to learn to save money. I cut down on drinking massively. Not that I was drinking. Well, I suppose I was drinking quite a lot when I was out traveling and out in Australia and Bali and stuff. And I was just slowly getting myself back into things. And then I met my now girlfriend, and yeah, just like building that relationship, being a better man in certain situations that I hadn't been in years previous, where ego was kind of in the way, and then beginning of last year, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do a 100-day challenge, posting on social media. I'm going to get back into it because I kind of just given up with socials. I was doing like maybe a post here and there and trying to keep this whole fitness thing going. I just kind of like, I'd given up. And then I got to January. I was like, yep, I'm going to do this 100-day post. And I think I got to like, I think 40 days, maybe. I can't remember the exact number, but I was just like, I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't want to sit here and do videos about how many calories are in olive oil or make sure you're tracking your fucking mayo in your sandwich. Like, I'm more than this. And then, yeah, it was just kind of like that inflection point of like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, are you going to go and just give this thing a shot and just jump in and try this mindset stuff, do a couple videos, test the water, and then it just developed from there. And I kind of feel like everything that's happened in those months from that decision is kind of like just happening as it's meant to happen. So I went to Paul, our coach's business summit day. That led me into then getting into like a group of the thing that I wanted to do. So then slowly but surely, then this year I certified as a mental performance coach, and all the pieces of the puzzle just started to like fall together. But it was just after I'd kind of committed to that decision of, right, just go for it. Just yeah, see what happens.
Swing the bat, mate.
Swing
Yeah.
the bat.
Amazing. And like, what's next for that? Where do you see it going?
So the way I see it now is I'm trying to be I say big brother, the role model for that version of me who was like just painfully lost at the ages of like 17, 18, 19, 20, and being sidetracked by so many different things and not being aware of all these little like micro habits and ways of thinking that were holding me back, that were actually creating the problems. Like all these roadblocks that I look at now are all self-fabricated. It was all from poor ways of thinking or decisions or ego or thinking that I knew better and just like bulldozing my way through life. So I want to kind of create a platform through whatever it is that for what I do and the podcast that I have to basically show the positive male role model of like, you can go and like, you can learn from good people. You haven't got to be these, what is it? These manosphere and like chase things that you don't want to do or live a life that you think that you should be living because, oh, do you know what? Everyone else is doing it, or this is what online is telling me that I need to be doing. And yeah, just putting my message out there, helping people get into the mental game, I guess, and just start taking a bit more attention into the way that they're seeing the world, because we don't just like do things, we think about everything that we do all the time. We actually think more than the actions that we take, I would say. So wielding that in a way that's going to serve you and create the confidence, set you up for the life that you want, and create a bit of purpose. We all don't have to revert to habits that don't serve us, the scrolling, the binge eating, the sniffing, the drinking, porn, whatever it is, whatever your vice is. So I hope just to be the first stepping stone in their journeys.
That's incredible. And there's so much to take about that. And we could go so many ways from here, but I know that you're on a bit of a time frame. So last kind of question from me is about questions. So what's a couple of questions that, if someone's been listening and really resonated to what you're saying and maybe seeing similar traits, similar patterns, similar loops, which that's a whole other thing that we could get into, playing out in their life. What couple of questions would you suggest them asking to themselves to start getting that ball rolling?
What questions? I guess it's what is it that you think that's holding you back? It's not so much the question for me, it's the writing it down. I think that's the main thing, because we can sit here and ponder. And like I said, for the longest time, I pondered on things. I read things. I watched podcasts. I listened to videos. I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. It's really cool. Yeah, I see where he's going with that. And doing nothing about it.
Mental masturbation, basically.
Yeah, literally. Like, this is, that's a cool quote. I've got fucking hundreds of notes in my phone of where I'm like listening to an audiobook, and I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to start taking notes of all these things, writing all these like things down. And they're just never really doing anything with it. So it's like people asking me these questions. So it's just like, write them down, but don't just write it down. I'll actually say, don't write it down on your phone. Get a piece of paper, literally, whatever it is. I've just got note cards here for some reason. Get a journal and like write down what it is that you're like, that isn't serving you and you think that is wrong. Or is there something that you're doing that you're having to, like I said, kind of play down what it is that you're doing and trying to make it sound better to the person that you're trying to say? Like, what are those things that you're like you're constantly asking yourself, or you're constantly thinking, oh, that was a bit awkward. Write it down. Write it down and just forget about it for a few days. Then come back and look at it as if your friend wrote it down. And then it's almost like, hey, what would you do to change that? What would you do? My biggest thing is like, what would you do? What would you say if this was your friend telling you that? I think that's the easiest way to kind of think about something that you're struggling with, or something that you're trying to battle. If your friend came to you and said the same thing, what would you say to them? Because that was what I alluded to earlier in the podcast. My biggest thing was I could give great advice, but I couldn't ever take it to myself. So it's almost like someone could come to you with the same problem that you're experiencing, but what you say to yourself is vastly different to what you're going to say to them. We all know what it is to say when we're trying to speak to other people. So yeah, it's like, what would you say to them to kind of overcome it?
Amazing. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this, and there's so many tapped avenues, and even questions I'm going to send you in a minute. Incredible. Thank you so much. Catch you in the next one.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.